You may not have built the AI you use, but you're 100% responsible for it. Most enterprise AI today is a tangle of APIs, third-party vendors, and SaaS embedded models, deployed without ownership, scaled without security, operated without accountability. But what happens when it leaks data or makes a decision no one can explain or fails an audit? The blame lands entirely on you. That's not a technology problem, that's a governance gap. This is exactly why EC Council is launching its proprietary Adopt, Defend, Govern ADG AI Framework, a practitioner-led modular framework for designing, implementing, and governing AI stacks. ADG AI Framework enables organizations to operationalize AI through defined minimum controls to establish strong foundations. At its core, ADG AI Framework is grounded in the RE3 trust model. Responsible, ethical, efficient, explainable. These aren't checkboxes. They are governance outcomes that must be engineered into every AI deployment. ADG AI Framework isn't academic. It was built with insights from AI advisory board members across Fortune 500 companies and leading enterprises. It reflects real-world pressure, the kind that organizations like yours are already facing. AI is already in your stack. The question is whether you control it or it controls you. You need the Adopt, Defend, Govern ADG AI Framework, because in the age of AI, accountability is not optional.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to EC Council's Adopt, Defend, and Govern AI Framework. My name is Jay Bavisi, and I'm the CEO and founder of the EC Council Group, and it gives me absolute pleasure to be here in front of you on this momentous moment for EC Council and for the community, while the community adopts AI at a very rapid pace. The question that we asked ourselves very early on is, with the adoption of AI being so prevalent across the world, is this safe? The point is, the world does not have a shortage of frameworks. Take a look at ISO or IEC 27001, 2022. There are 93 controls in that standard. But if you look at AI, ISO's 42001, which is the AI standard for the world, it has 38 controls that are set. It takes an organization anything from 12 to 18 months to implement these rigorous standards. And not just that, NIST has got a NIST 853, which has got 1,196 control across 20 different families. And then NIST also has an AI publication, an AI risk management framework, and that's a risk management framework, it's a guidance. So the point I'm trying to make is that the world does not have a shortage of a framework at all. There are plenty. Then why would EC Council build the Adopt, Defend, and Govern framework? Do we need another one? This is going to be the question that I'm going to be asking our panelists that are here with me today. However, it is important that we pay attention to what's happening around the world. Right now, as we speak, there are 59 new AI regulations that were already built in 2024, and 195 new national governments are actively developing AI governance positions. Think of that for a second. No country in this world is going to be left behind. And 80 plus countries are going to be publishing national AI governance frameworks by 2026. So folks, the question that should be in your mind is that if you are a business that is doing international work, how are you going to map to all of these different standards? Which one are you going to pick? Are you going to take 12 to 18 months to develop, to implement a ISO framework? Would that be sufficient? Does that protect your organization? These are going to be the conversations that we're going to have over the next hour with my esteemed panelists. It's also important to know that $5.5 trillion has already been linked to the loss of IT and AI skill gap. Humanity is going to spend between $2.5 to $4.5 trillion in AI. Think of that for a second. 2.5 to 4.5 trillion dollars will be spent in AI, which means no one's going to be spared. And 87% of cyber risks that are coming now are all AI related. So we have a world that is moving rapidly towards AI, because today, if you're not in AI, then you really don't exist, or shareholder value isn't, material. At the same time, we haven't really figured out how are we going to be dealing with this AI technology, which could be a massive exposure to an organization. And at the backdrop of this, humans are losing jobs because AI is coming in the loop, and humans are getting out of the loop. And that's why you're seeing massive layoffs that are happening across the world. So there's one important saying that I keep making to my entire organization and community: AI is not going to replace humans, but humans with AI will replace humans without. And it's with that backdrop today that I stand in front of you here, launching EC Council's Adopt, Defend, and Govern framework. And not just the Adopt, Defend, Govern framework, we are also launching 4 assessment methodologies that can be used by organizations and individuals that I will be sharing with you. Adopt, Defend, and Govern. 3 different pillars, one single operating model. And we are going to be in the Adopt framework. What we're trying to do is help organizations think through all of the policies, procedures, systems, control, risks, harms that they need to be cognizant about before they adopt artificial intelligence in the organizations. That should not be an afterthought. In Defend, we're talking about defending a organization that's utilizing AI. Think of it for a second. 25 years ago, EC Council built the Certified Ethical Hacker certification, and we have built more than 500,000 cybersecurity professionals in 174 countries in the last 24 years. Our cybersecurity professionals were always able to penetrate networks, penetrate cloud, penetrate mobile systems, penetrate IoT, penetrate SCADA systems. And then we pause. What about artificial intelligence? What about LLM models? And it is with the Defend framework that we are helping organizations think through their entire cybersecurity posture in an AI world. And then in Govern, we will have to think about governance. Governance and risk management cannot be done without considering ethical use of artificial intelligence in an organization. And that's why the EC Council's Adopt, Defend, Govern framework is meant to be as a framework that is very easy to execute. And today we'll be talking about how you can use this to build a stronger, greater organization. In this standard, you have 12 minimum controls, and we're going to have Karthik talk about these 12 minimum controls. Karthik is the editor for the EC Council Global Services, editor-in-chief of the Adopt, Defend, and Govern framework, and we will share with you what the 12 controls are and why they were created. Not just that, 9 governance surfaces are covered in this entire documentation, which talks about how do you deal with prompt and context and model and tools and orchestration, identity, safety layer, telemetry, and learning loop. Nothing is left to chance. One framework for a complete AI oversight for your entire organization. We move on, and with the help of the board, we're going to be releasing and announcing 4 harm classes to an organization, everything with a single operational control model. 12 minimum controls that are all going to be mapped to NIST AI Risk Management Framework and the ISO IEC 42001. And this is something that you will have a lot of interest in seeing, and I think it will really blow your mind off when you're going to see how an Adopt, Defend, Govern framework actually maps to all of these other international standards. This framework is built for everyone. For a learner, whether you're a learner in academia or you're a practitioner that has limited knowledge of AI, or you're in cybersecurity, or even if you're an executive, this framework can be used to enhance the quality of the work that you deliver to your organization. And it was a tremendous amount of contribution from amazing members of the EC Council AI Advisory Board, that gave us hundreds of inputs, constant communication, multiple board meetings, and on behalf of the entire AC Council community, I thank all of these board members. Today, I'm proud to bring to you a document, a framework, a standard that you're going to be able to use across your organizations to help improve your organizations, to help make this world safer. 25 years ago, we launched Certified Ethical Hacker in an era when hacking was a bad word. Today, we launched the Adopt, Defend, Govern framework in an era where the artificial intelligence adoption way outweighs the governance framework around it in any organization in the world. We will be releasing the DART methodology that helps you discover, analyze, remediate, and transform your organization. What is really interesting is we did not just stop at the Adopt, Defend, and Govern framework. We realized that the larger problem with a framework is not the framework itself. The larger problem is making sure that a framework does not just become a checklist audit. There are so many organizations out there that will say, I've got the following ISO standard, but we all know that what it is nothing more than paper trail. The question in an AI world is, when AI is so powerful and AI is in the hands of everyone, how well do organizations actually apply and operationalize the values behind a framework? And that's why during the launch of the Adopt, Defend, and Govern framework, we are releasing 4 free assessments. 1, assessment for organizations. Leaders of organizations can take a simple 5-minute assessment. Well, it's not really 5 minutes. It's probably going to take you 20-25 minutes. And I assure you, halfway through it, you'll be questioning your knowledge across the implementation of AI in your organization. So there are about 30 questions in the first assessment, and we recommend AI professionals, cyber professionals, vice presidents, leaders, executive leaders in organizations take it. It will give you a very clear mirror to your organization's Adopt, Defend, and Govern standards. We have also launched 3 free assessments for individuals. Individuals that are in the world of adopting AI should take the Adopt assessment. Individuals that have their jobs in defending AI should take the Defend assessment, and individuals that are part of governance of AI should take the Governance assessment. All of these assessments are completely free, and we will take you through it in a moment. So stay tuned. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me tremendous pride to introduce 2 of my panelists today. Kathy Baxter, the Principal Architect and Vice President of Salesforce, who is also a very active EC Council Advisory Board member, and Karthik Sundar, the Framework Architect and Lead Author, who is a Practice Head of EC Council Global Services Secure AI Practice. Kathy and Karthik, welcome to the launch of ADG AI Framework.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Glad to
So
be here.
Karthik, let's get started. Before we get into the framework, let's get started. Key question to a lot of the members of the audience is going to be, so many standards already exist in the world. What makes the ADG framework so different, and why is it so important?
It's a very good question, Jay. So I think to answer that question, when I was developing the framework, the real question was, how do I really start? Now, if you really look at the complexity of NIST AI RMF, ISO 42001, and of course the blend of 27001, there's a lot of controls to consider when AI and cybersecurity
implement in this integration. So that really boils down to the 12 areas that we were.
Sorry, Karthik. I'm not able to hear you. Kathy, are you able to hear Karthik? No, yeah. So I'm not able to hear you, Karthik.
Is that me now?
Technology.
You're kind of muffled.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear
Very
you.
loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, where was I lost then?
From the beginning.
Okay, so I think fundamentally, let me start over again. So when I started developing the framework, one of the major areas that I was focusing on is everybody is developing AI system, agentic AI, fine-tuning models, and a lot more about that. So the fundamental question for me was, if I had to look at the other standards today and define a pathway of how do I define security around all of the agentic applications, it was not very, very clear to me. I had to narrow down the surface, have a beginner friendly approach. Now that's where we thought about breaking the agentic systems, narrowing them down to the 12 minimum controls, which is highly effective. These touch upon all the integration points. If I were to implement an AI system, I need to look at model, context, prompt, tool, the hardness. All of these fundamental units are my integration points. So what about the controls around them? Can we define a baseline? Can we first start off by defining what's really essential, then work our way upwards? I think that was one of the reasons I would say that ADG caters to benchmarking your baseline, getting you to a structured level, then evolving based on the other industry best practices out there, which becomes pretty much easy to implement.
So Karthik, let's dive deep. Why don't you take the entire audience through the Adopt, Defend, Govern framework before we go further and we dive deeper into the technicalities? Why don't you take us through what the framework is all about, show us how it's applied and how it impacts an organization?
Absolutely. I think we can do that. Just a minute. I think is waiting for. Great. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we do.
Perfect. So the framework is quite intensive. We've covered every element of an AI system. We've really thought through this. We've thought about the audiences. We've thought about engineering. We've thought about governance specialists. We've thought about offensive security. Everyone grouped together. If we were to put everyone in a single room and then break down an AI system and define the controls upwards, I think that's what the framework really digs into deep. The framework really talks about how we have to cover the entire architecture of an AI system. If you can see here, let me just zoom in there. Just a minute. We speak about emerging architectures, composite AI systems, classical ML, multimodal, diffusion models, and the harness surrounding it. We look at context, tools, safety, identity, telemetry, and orchestration. The framework pretty much establishes controls around all of this that you're currently seeing. And let's have a look at what that means. So this is a high-level view of the framework where we've bifurcated adopt, defend, and govern. What are the 9 governance surfaces like you've rightly walked through? The 12 minimum controls and what exactly are they? The missing piece is everyone talks about how and why and what. I mean, everyone talks about the what and why. Nobody discusses about the how. How do we really do this? How do we really start this off and enable security right from the ground up? So the MC1 to MC12 descriptively covers what are the controls that we need to look at. How does that branch out to the harm classes? What are we really trying to address here? We need to really start looking at something way beyond technology. How is it going to blend into society? How is it going to operationally get involved? What are the systemic measures in place? And what are the technical harms? So the framework not only addresses the governance and risk standards, it also looks at mapping of industry threat catalogs. One of the questions that we received during the development of the framework is, hey, okay, I can implement all of this, but how do I benchmark it to something that is already happening in the industry? So we looked at MITRE ATT&CK, MITRE Atlas, OWASP LLM top 10, the agentic top 10, and now pretty recently is the top 10 MCP observations that we will be factoring in on. And the next one was the deployment patterns. Everybody takes a different approach to deploying these AI systems, right? And we need to know how the deployment really happens so that we can work our way upwards and work along with them in defining these security controls that we've laid out. 3 autonomy tiers: human in the loop, human on the loop, human out of the loop. The more autonomy you give these AI systems, the more control they have, the more decision-making powers they have. So how do we really monitor that? Though everybody may want to offset a lot of the work to the AI systems, at the end of the day, observability and visibility becomes pivotal. And the last is the 4-phase roadmap. Every organization needs to know from a foundational level where they are as a current state assessment and work their way upwards into what are the controls that's more managed, more defined, that's agentic, and absolutely optimized, that's maturity, right? So we help them put them on a scale and tell them, this is your current state, this is who you are at this point in time, and what is the next effective step that you need to take to attain maturity. That covers the framework holistically. So I'm just going to quickly go through. It's quite an exhaustive framework. You will have to sit along with it, read it, take what's really contextual to you and apply them in your relevant environments. But I'm going to go down to touch upon the shared responsibility model, which is pretty important. I think in today's AI systems, everything is about integration. You want to go about taking context. You want to expose your agent to get relevant context to achieve its outcome. So that's very, very essential. And how do they do that? It's through MCPs, it's through CLIs. And today you just connect Claude Code with a couple of MCPs and expose them on how they can get relevant context in. That's not only your responsibility, right? It's definitely, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you must have heard about the recent attacks around the NPM packages through a supply chain attack. And of course, the introduction of Mythos, which definitely changed all the low-level vulnerabilities, ultimately trying to make its way into your organization. So these models are pretty much evolving, though I'm pretty sure that Mythos is compute heavy and it's charged at a higher price. But the other open source models are getting there. The more and more data that these models are being trained on, it's an eventual step that they will get there. There's about an 8 to 12 month of gap from where matured AI models are at this point. But the open source models are very well catching up, such as Kimi 2.6, Qwen 3.6, DeepSeek version 4. And I think these models have quite a possibility of going up the evaluations and maturing along with the closed source models. The framework addresses the 4 critical pillars of an organization: people, process, technology, and data. It's not only about having an agentic system, but it's who are accountable to handle the agentic systems. How is the process defined around these agentic systems? How is the technology deployed around these agentic systems? And of course, ultimately the data. The main point being data is what are the essential controls we have to let the AI take autonomous decisions to access whatever data it needs from your organization to achieve a particular outcome. Now, the whole agentic environment is moving towards outcome-based system. It's no longer today I log into an application, I navigate through the software, and I try to learn the software. That's getting abstracted out. Today you have a chat interface, you get in, you tell it what you want it to do, and it figures out the rest of the steps that it needs to take. So this is very, very critical on what data, how knowledge work is going to be redundant over a period of time, because these systems have power to consume data and make effective decisions all by themselves. The next part is 11.1, the minimum control set. One of the major questions that we've addressed as a part of the framework is ADG a competitor to the other standards? It's absolutely no. No is the answer.
The MC1 to MC12 is here to align with industry best standards and industry best practices. If you look at it foundationally, we've covered the core essential controls that sets the stage for us to mature into the standards like NIST AI RMF and ISO 42001. To give you a view, we clearly know MC1, what does it map to? MC2, what does it map to? MC3, what does it map to? MC4, what does it map to? It's a clear articulation to let organizations know, let's start with the minimum controls. We have already done the heavy lifting for you. We exactly know how to implement these, and the how is already described for you on the framework. It's all about taking the information from here and operationalizing it within your organizations. And the next part is, of course, the MITRE ATT&CK, the MITRE Atlas, the OWASP LLM Top 10, and OWASP Agentic Top 10. Let's talk about something which is very, very common today: phishing, valid accounts, command and scripting, command injection, then distributed denial of service, account manipulation, brute force. These are all common patterns that we have known for a couple of years now. I mean, in fact, more than a couple of years. So if I have to map that to the minimum controls, if this were to apply to an AI system, we clearly articulate that and we tell them, let's start with something that is already happening in a traditional sense, right? Let's assume that you're already breached with a common few attack techniques and tactics. So the framework really gives you that depth view of getting into it and understanding how each of these attack patterns map to the ADG and of course the ISO 42001. So that pretty much gives you from a MITRE ATT&CK, from a MITRE Atlas point of view. We also do it. From an OWASP LLM Top 10, we do it. And from an OWASP Agentic Top 10, we give you that coverage. So put all of this together and wrap that around people, process, tech, and data. That's exactly the framework which will help you, which will help your organizations. And doing this sets the foundations right. The emphasis is on setting the foundation very critical, because after that, everything else is just an add up, and you clearly know that you can play around with these 12 controls and keep evolving in your maturity journey. And I think that addresses on what the ADG framework is. Thanks.
Thank you, Karthik. Before we move on, I want to point my first question to Kathy.
Sorry, Jay, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
I can hear Jay.
No. Yeah, Karthik, is your technology is not working? Maybe the AI is after you, right? So Kathy, let me start with a question to you, Kathy. Right, you have been building responsible AI at Salesforce since 2018. I don't know of any individual who doesn't know what Salesforce is, right? So it's a pretty large organization across the world. And you are the prominent architect, the vice president of AI in Salesforce. Now, Karthik just showed us the ADG. You're a large organization. When you look at these three pillars, how does that match what you actually build as trust in your stack in an organization like Salesforce?
Yeah, I'm really proud of the work that our Office of Ethical and Humane Use does. At Salesforce, trust is our number one value. It really guides everything that we do. So that means that when we started developing our trusted AI principles in 2018, published them in 2019, it wasn't just a set of principles. We immediately started mapping them to processes and thinking about how to operationalize them from the very beginning. Unfortunately, at that time, there really was not a responsible enterprise AI playbook that we could reference. We were having to build it on our own as we were going, but always keeping customer trust and safety at the center, focused on what we were doing. The Einstein layer, trust layer, is a really good example of that. So it provides a set of technical controls that sit directly in the prompt output pipeline. For example, PII, data masking and toxicity scoring, those sit within our defend in ADG. Then we have our zero data retention, so no LLM can retain any customer data. Access controls, as well as our audit trails sitting at the telemetry level, those all go within the govern part of ADG. So the ADG removes all of the guesswork from the process. If you are creating a new process from scratch, this gives you that framework to take whatever your principles may be and then map them into processes so that you know exactly how to operationalize them.
Thank you for that. To the members of the audience, there's a poll that has just come out. Can you please take the poll? There's a poll button on your screen, and we're going to be asking a couple of questions. And when you can, please try to respond to this so we can get some feedback from the ground as well, right? Just tell me what your organization looks like, right? I've always said that there are three types of organization. The organization like Kathy's, right? The large organizations, they've got it all figured out. They have a Kathy in a role, right? And not, dealing with it with departments and with budgets. And then there's the other end of organizations that really don't have a clue. They think AI is ChatGPT or Claude, right? And then there are the wannabes in the middle. And I think that's where the majority of organizations are, where they kind of understand what AI is, they understand what LLM is, they understand it's important, they all want to hop on, the boards want to get their organization there, but they just do not know where to start, right? So there's a pressure to implement AI quickly, and then governance and security becomes an afterthought. So wow, this poll is telling something absolutely clear, that only 7% of the audience, of professionals is saying the AI is the core of how the organization operates. That's telling about the opportunity for professionals to get on board and organizations to uplift. Kathy, I want to quickly take on another question for you. I've always heard you say that, adopting a list of principles is a far cry from operationalizing them. And look, from cybersecurity, we frown when we hear the word checklist auditing, because we know that happens, right? Now, how does a control level evidence framework really close the gap? How does ADG help organizations? There are organizations that might say, I'll implement ISO 42001 and I have a department for it. But is there a role for ADG to play even in these large organizations? And if so, how does it help operationalize?
Yeah, if your ethics is a checklist, then it's ethics washing. It's not really a practice. ADG gives you the framework to be able to tie every principle to a control, every control to a named evidence artifact, and every artifact then to a human that is accountable for it. And that last part is really important, and I don't think is always taken into consideration in the practices. So the ADG encodes that evidence, decision rights, and auditability throughout for a form of accountability. So if we take a look at the minimum controls that Karthik was showing earlier, you go through looking for evidence with a system inventory, doing the risk classification and pre-production evaluations. Then under decision rights, you have a separation of duties for deployment, ownership, security validation, and approval authority. No one person is responsible or has the authority for each of those different steps. You have individual groups, organizations, people for each of those parts. And then you've got the shared responsibility for documentation, for accountability. So you've got full transparency of who is doing what throughout that entire cycle.
Thank you. That's amazing. Karthik, I want to come back quickly to you. Kathy mentioned, about having segregation, having people right? And I've been a strong proponent, EC Council has been a strong proponent of workforce development, right? Everything about our lives has been devoted in building an entire industry. Now, AI is going to need exactly the same. This whole talk about the AI bots are going to come and take over human jobs, I personally don't believe it. I think this is an opportunity for humans to actually pivot to an entirely different role, right? We were managing IT. Now, guess what? AI is going to handle IT. We now going to go manage the AI behind this, right? And the adopt, defend, govern. Can you take the audience through the 4 assessments that we have built, and how does that help an organization think through ADG, and how does it help individuals think through their career?
Sure, Jay.
By the way, are all free. Kathy likes the free part. It's always good. Okay.
So I'm going to just cover what's in for the first assessment, the tool that will help you out evaluating your current state posture. The whole idea of the current state posture is answering 3 different questions. What do you claim you have? You have a claim, and you are going to respond to that claim. The second part is, what is it that you can prove based on your claims? If I were to come and ask you for an artifact to say that this is what you're doing, how can you prove it? And the last is autonomy versus controls. How much of an autonomy are you going to give your AI, and what are the controls associated with that autonomy? So a glimpse of the questionnaire is an evidence quick check. We ask you about what is it that you can prove. And the second part is, for every minimum control, we ask you for a maturity level. And the biggest thing that we are trying to address here is, if you do not know the answer, that's absolutely fine. That's the whole purpose of building up the ADG. It is to give you visibility. If you do not know, the framework is going to help you getting that answer and having you on the journey to implement relevant controls. Now, ultimately, once you answer these controls, or if you're in a position to answer all of it honestly, then you're going to get a final report, which gives you a good view around adopt, defend, and govern, right? It gives you a clear category around what is it that you have in adopt, what is it that you have in defend, what is it that you have in govern, based on the responses you've provided to the tool. And we want to be completely transparent about how did we evaluate the score. The ultimate question for everyone is, hey, you've told me where I belong and you've given me some percentages, but how do I know if you're right? So we are giving that transparently. We have seen, based on the responses that you've provided, how is it that we compute the risk score for each one of them. We've laid it out as a part of the tool. So once you respond, you clearly get complete transparency of how did we land to that conclusion. And the next part is, where do your controls lens live? Very important is we touch upon people, process, technology, and data. And based on the responses that you've given, we tell you where exactly is your weakest link and how exactly you need to really channelize and enable more controls on the relevant categories. What will we validate first? It's again a mapping to the minimum control set. All 12 controls at a glance based on the responses. Your discovery roadmap. Now, every board member out there will need to know, what do you do in the first 30 days? What do you do in the next 60 days? And what do you do in the next 90 days? Clearly laid out for you so that you can reference this and get on the journey of clearly enabling these controls at a foundational level. Pretty much laid out. This is called the current state assessment, and everybody gets this mapped to some kind of an international standard, but starting from a baseline like ADG will put you on that road to really enable you to go after these really more matured frameworks and standards. And the last is the most important one. Based on the responses that you've given us, we've managed to map this to NIST RMF mapping on what your coverage is and the mapping to 42001, and the last standard, which is EU AI Act. So if anybody is processing European customers' data, or if at all a European organization is taking this up, the first thing they would want to know is how is it mapping to EU AI Act? And we have clearly embedded that logic as a part of the questionnaire. Now this addresses the current state assessment. What is it that you know about your organization today? And it also gives you a view of where you should go in the next 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. So that's the enterprise ready assessment that we have right on top of the framework, which is readily accessible today.
So to the audience, just before you go to next point, important point to make, right? I've been in cybersecurity for 25 years, and I'll tell you that if you want to do an assessment like this with a detailed outcome that you are seeing, you're going to be paying tens of thousands of dollars to consultants. This is completely free for every organization, and it's thanks to our advisory board and thanks to the team at EC Council that is making this completely free for organizations, because we feel that safety of the world relies on the ability of us, the humans, being able to govern artificial intelligence, or it's going to govern us. And it is completely from a benevolent reason that we have made this completely available to everyone and anyone who wants it. So I'll strongly encourage you to go back to your leadership. If you're part of the board, if you're part of the C-suite, if you're part of AI, if you're part of a leadership that uses AI, get your organization to fill this survey up and do a self-assessment of where you stand. It will be very telling as to the gaps that are in your organization. Karthik, thank you for that. Can you now go on to the individual part? We're 15 more minutes, so we're gonna go real quick. Just pick any one. Let's pick defend as a basis. We have 3 assessments. Let's take a defend assessment and show the individuals how they can take a free assessment and see their roadmap and their ability of AI.
Sure. So I think right away, let me get to this place where we have another tool where all of the individuals or enthusiasts, this is primarily, we are trying to address workforce reskilling and development. If I'm a passionate security person, and if I'm really lost in this AI world and trying to understand how exactly do I go up the ladder, I think that's the problem that we're trying to solve. The tool gives you a questionnaire based on your interest. If you want to really specialize in governance, if you really want to specialize in offensive security, and if you really want to specialize in program management or product management. So these questions are rightly available to you on the platform. You can go and do a quick skill check. If you really want to know today, where am I standing? Am I really ready for the AI world when it comes to the cybersecurity space? I'm an individual interested in cybersecurity. I want to go see whether I can answer those questions and have a quick skill check done. So the tool is available. You go through around 32 to 35 questions. It gives you the current stance of AI. And once you get past all of that, you get a badge that you can apply, or you can definitely feel good about once you've attained those questions and if you've passed all of them. Not only that, once you've attained the badge, it also gives you a pathway specialization. The pathway is, okay, I've done this now. What else do I have to really cater to in the future? That's the expanded view. All of the individuals who go through the assessment gets a good coverage of what are the knowledge I need to gain if I have to get better at cybersecurity and involving AI, and what is the pathway that I need to take. So all of the certification covers really good topics that an individual needs to equip themselves. So as you can see here, the COASP, the CAIPM, the CRAGE, the AI Essentials. As a part, there is also an intermediary certificate. It is not that everything AI is only covered, but in order to embed AI as a part of your skill frame, you will need to go through some intermediary certifications such as CEH and ACISO, right? If you're really taking the governance path, you will need to go through ACISO, the Associate CISO. And if you really want to take the technical path, you need to go through the Ethical Hacker series. So that gives a good view of what is available and where they have interest and passion, so that they can focus on the ones that they have to take and get going.
Thank you for that, Karthik. So to all of the attendees, I strongly advise you, the EC Council administration team will be pasting on the chat group now the URL for the framework. Go take a look, read the framework, have fun, provide us with feedback, but go take these assessments. They are completely free and they are for you to test out, and hopefully you do much better. Kathy, I want to come back to you, and while I come back to you, can I get the second poll to be started, please? We have an important question to all the attendees. Please feel free to respond in your own free time. Kathy, rapid fire. Agent Force is an autonomous agents in production, which is at scale right now. Now, you've always said that do not treat autonomy as binary, right? Start small and earn it. How would you use a framework like ADG to govern a fleet of agents? I mean, now there is a warfare that's going on, right? I mean, I see CEOs competing to say, how many agents do you have in organizations? And everyone's saying, oh, I've got more agents than you, because that seems like a measure of how advanced you are. How would you use ADG to govern a fleet of agents?
Yes, I like to talk about the controls and things that we have at Salesforce, and then map those directly to ADG so people can see, what does this really look like? This isn't a theoretical framework, but how does this directly map to a company who has implemented these kinds of controls and things actually in products? So in practice with Agent Force, the Atlas reasoning agent powers an agent's reasoning and action loop. It understands the user's intent, selects actions, executes them. But what makes that safe at enterprise scale is the layer of controls that are wrapped around it. So you have topic classification to define what the action or what the agent can and can't respond to, guardrails to prevent abuse, reduce hallucinations, built-in toxicity detection with the trust layer, and then explicit escalation paths to a human when the agent encounters something outside that defined scope. So let's map that to ADG. It gives organizations the structure for governing each of those things. The tools and MCP register is minimum control 7 or MC7. It encourages you or asks you to inventory every action surface an agent can touch with trust tiering and an invocation policy. So that's your blast radius control that you want to have in place. The orchestration surface then bounds the planning loop, your retry budgets. You don't want to be burning through tokens, multi-agent coordination. And then you have that the autonomy tiers. So Karthik was talking in the beginning about human in the loop, on the loop, over the loop. Those map directly to how we are thinking about graduated oversight in Agent Force. We start off as assistive, and the AI has to prove its reliability, its fairness. And then you earn the right to move on to conditional autonomy with human monitoring. So you're not having to approve every step along the way. So throughout, there's always a human at the helm, keeping control of the system.
Fantastic. So if you saw the poll result earlier, right, you would see that the number one factor that is stopping most of you is really skills, right? The fact that us, the humans, the professionals, don't have the right skills. If you look at the response early on, 11%, only 11% said I have a leadership problem. Leadership is actually quite open to it, right? Now, that tells me two things. One is that we, the professionals, if we know how to communicate with leadership, and we said, look, we need the following skills, and this is the way we are going to uplift our teams in adoption, in defense, and governance, leadership is pretty happy in building the workforce. But are we motivated enough to identify the skills that we require? Do we have the teams in place? Because guess what? We have larger problems coming up. It's not just about dealing with agents. Shadow AI is becoming another major issue, Kathy. So first to Karthik and then to Kathy, same question. We had shadow IT in IT. Now we're dealing with shadow AI. And I was in New York and I was meeting a massive bank, and I met the CEO of the bank. And the CEO was saying, oh, we have so many people in IT and we have so many people in research, and we have PhDs in AI. And I asked one question. I said, if you had this meeting with this data and you have 10 of your interns that are here, they were in the meeting, can you guarantee me that none of them would have used a screenshot of a confidential document into their private AI model? Or they would not have purchased maybe a foreign AI model, DeepSeek, for example, and that data would have never left out? And there was silence in the room. This is one element, but shadow AI is an entirely different issue. Organizations, CIOs don't even know the amount of AI that is in their organization. So, Karthik, to you first, and then Kathy, shadow AI. How will we keep up with governance on shadow AI? How will ADG help us control shadow AI?
So it's a very beautiful question, Jay. So from a governance perspective, I think, again, observability. How do you enable observability? Now, again, it all boils down to fundamentally looking at the infrastructure. But today I have a laptop and I open the laptop and I can access ChatGPT. Can I put some document and I can paste text on it? Absolutely, yes. And this is possible even with the other kind of models that we have, Kimi K2, DeepSeek V4, name the model, and everybody is out there trying to get intelligence. I think intelligence is the right word. There is, you want to put out data, you want to give it context, and you want to get the job done. That's just about it. For any worker out there, I think knowledge work and grunt work, these systems can do it at pretty much accelerated speeds, right? If you give them the right context. So do you have to embrace it to a large degree? But can you support that arrangement within your organization? How do you govern it? How do you support it? By bringing all the data that you have. Now, this is something that is already happening. Is the unification of knowledge. Agents really do well when you get all of the knowledge into a central place, and organizations have started that journey as of today, right? So governance around it. How do we bring the data? How do we really get our people to do the job that they need to do? So enabling that governance structure across people, process, tech, and data is very, very vital for ensuring that shadow AI doesn't really overrule governance, but also supporting the people to do their part.
I'm hearing people. That's great. Kathy, same question to you. Shadow AI, how do we govern this?
Well, you need a shift. You need to have employees see governance as guardrails, not as roadblocks. If you make governance feel like a blocker, people will just go around it. And it's not because people are evil. This is just human nature. They're just trying to get their jobs done. And so the solution isn't more restrictions. It's about making the safe, sanctioned path the easiest path forward. We like to say, make it as easy as possible to do the right thing and as difficult or impossible to do the wrong thing. So incorporating guardrails into design, not on top of it, makes that possible. And critically, you need to treat shadow AI as a signal, not just as a compliance failure. When employees go outside of sanctioned tools, they're telling you something about unmet needs or broken workflows. So take that as intelligence, not just a risk.
Thank you, Kathy. If we take a look at the most recent poll, more than 50% of attendees don't even know which framework they're going to adopt, or they're still deciding. This is a fantastic time for them to adopt the ADG framework with 12 minimum controls. And to the folks that are listening on, the entire value of ADG that we're bringing on is because we don't want to inundate you with a very tough, tight technical documentation that you just give up before you even start. We want to make sure, as what Kathy said early on, this is something that's implementable. This is something that becomes a culture of an organization. And that's the entire point why we are actually releasing the ADG framework and making it completely free with all of the 4 assessments that are available. And the URL where you can access the 4 assessments and the entire framework is being pasted on the chat. Please feel free to take a look at it. Final question. We have 3 minutes to go. Kathy, I've always said that I will not trust AI to be the guardrails of AI. And let me tell you a story that I know most of you already know in cybersecurity, but if you have not, we are already seeing AI threatening humans. AI is building their own social network and identifying that, oh, humans are reading it, so now we will change into gibberish language so no one understands what's going on. That's already happened. We've already seen AI blackmail a human because a human called it stupid. And now social security number, privacy data. Those of you who have not heard this for the first time, you ought to have heard it, because this is a serious matter that's already happening. And you want me to have AI as a guardrail for AI? That's not a good idea. So then the question comes, Kathy, where do humans sit in ADG? What we have seen in the polls, humans are lacking the workforce development that they so want. They are lacking the frameworks. That's what we have seen. Where do they sit in ADG, and how would you help humans help enforce AI and be the guardrail layers in organizations?
We've operationalized that human at the helm in Agent Force. So when an agent encounters a situation outside of its defined scope, then it automatically escalates to a human, and that scope is defined at configuration time by the admin. The admin decides what that escalation path looks like, and then gives you that audit trail, that documentation to tell you what the agent did and why. And so that's the difference between simply a human in the loop. You just you get an audit trail, but the human doesn't get brought in. You need to keep that human at the helm that decides these are the critical decision points. These are the critical paths. This is when you need to escalate. This is when you need to pause. This is when it's okay to move forward, but just document it. So humans define the policy, deterministic controls enforce it, and then the telemetry make it auditable. And so that's each of those pillars of the ADG. And by making it open source and free for everyone, high tide rises all boats, and everybody gets access to safe, responsible agentic AI.
Karthik, same question to you. Where would the humans?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
My question to you is, where would the humans sit? AIs cannot be guardrails for AIs, right? Where would the humans sit, and how will ADG help the humans to be the guardrails in AI systems?
So I think humans are going to sit across the stack, in my view, right? It's across everything that we implement from an agentic hardness, and looking at it from a perspective of visibility and observability. We need to really look at reskilling for sure, because they need to understand how these systems work. They need to understand how equip themselves with the kind of knowledge that they need and navigate or interact with AI systems. Second thing is the process re-engineering. They also need to adapt to how the process is going to shift from 10 steps to 3 steps. What took me 10 steps yesterday and what it's going to take me 2 steps, but who's going to do that? Who's going to re-engineer from 10 to 2? That's going to be humans, right? And the technology itself is the new technology that is going to come about, and every element, the people aspect is going to be about what is software going to look like in the next 10 years or the next 5 years. Me and you don't know today. The people have to drive us there, and ultimately data. How exactly can we protect the data systems that we have, right? So ADG is going to really help in getting all of this into a central view. It is surely and certainly going to help organizations in getting a holistic sense of what's happening across the organization end to end, so that they can take decisive actions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are right at the time, and I know we are 2 minutes over. I will like to close with a couple of points. One, ADG is a vendor neutral open framework produced by EC Council for the benefit of the world. Please go to eccouncil.org/ADG framework and review it. Do not forget to take the assessment for your organizations and 3 assessments for individuals depending on which role you think you belong to. If you like it, please tell the world, share it on social, tag yourselves, tag your friends, because we need to stick together and we need to help one another, especially in a world where AI is very prevalent. If you don't like it, please reach out to Kathy. I'm kidding. if you don't like it, please reach out to us at EC Council and let us know, because we would like to hear how we can make this better too. You will see there's a tab there where we've invited you to be part of our community, to join our community, help us to make this better, because together we can make this much better. I want to summarize by saying that the last poll shows that more than half of you are very worried about confidentiality loss, where you're going to have model leakage, and that can be a nightmare. Everything that we have protected with cybersecurity over the last 30, 40 years will now go if you let the AI in and you forget to shut the door. And this is why you need to have a framework like ADG. You need to have skills that are built across adoption, defense, and governance of AI in your organizations, and you need to have your leadership take the assessments. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jay Bavisi, the founder and CEO of EC Council, and I thank both of my panelists, Kathy and Karthik. Thank you so much for spending the hour with us. The community thanks you, and I look forward to having further conversations with you. Thank you very much. The rest of you, have a great day. To the rest of you, the rest of the world, have a good night. Thank you and goodbye.